Hello and welcome. This is a video about bet sizing, position sizing, how many to sell, how many of a coins do you need to own for certain situations. The one that I'm going to be going over. Let's assume you like a coin and in market conditions state that the price is low, and a lot of coins right now I think do state that and expect it to have much higher gains, and thus you want to have coins to sell later. Meaning, if you are buying a coin, you expect to have a 20, 40, 50, 100, 400x type of gains. Yeah, I want to sell them starting now. Meaning, if I'm going to be buying it at 50 cents, if it goes up to 60 cents, let's sell it. But man, I, one thing I don't want to do is miss out on plays. I want to get a lot of trades. So let's say you plan to sell for gains for every 1% move. But I'm going to base it on that against Bitcoin and a buyback at 8%. So what that means is, so let's assume that you're selling at 2,000 Satoshi. Then your next sell order would be around 2020. And then at about 2041. And then they would keep going up on that ledger. Let's just assume you sell the 20. And then you sell the 2020, then you sell the 2041. So I would be looking for the price to go down 8%. I would basically multiply that number by 0.92, and that's where the buyback would be. So you essentially would be getting 8% more coins for every trade that you make. So therefore, what is the minimum value your coins can be at? Noting that your minimum wager, your minimum bet, your minimum trade is 0.001 Bitcoin. And furthermore, we'll calculate this. When prices are very high, you plan to sell outside of a plan, meaning you already got your sell orders and buy orders in place. But let's just assume you've got a 15, 20x gain. And it just went straight up for so long. Because you've been holding them later, you've seen the market go up 10 times. What you're holding in the altcoin, even though you've sold a good percentage of them already, are still worth more than they were at the original entry time. So at some point, okay, I want to sell a good amount of them now. Let's just assume you're selling 100 of a particular coin. Realizing that you're looking for 50, 60, 70% off to buy them back. And oftentimes with those types of moves, that happens. 80% even. So if you're selling 100, you're looking to buy back 300 maybe. And then furthermore, is there arbitrage available? Let's just assume the market's been pumping up really, really high on one, and it's traded on Binance and Bittrex and Poloniex and other places that you have access to. If one place is going up so high, it was at 2,000 Satoshi, now it's at 2,500. And yet it's 2,350 to buy somewhere else. Then you have the opportunity to sell maybe even all of them at 2,500, buy what you can mathematically, and get maybe 10% more, and then move them as you may need to do. After all, you can have tokens or coins on multiple sites. And thus, if you have a certain amount of coins that, and we'll talk about this more when we go through the numbers game, but assuming you've got 1,000 coins, so 500 or 600 of them you're willing to trade along the way, and you're holding 400 more. You can hold them on another place. And then you want to day trade additionally, meaning maybe you see a pattern, oh, I think this is going to go down in the next few hours. I'm going to sell a little bit now and then play your stops as you normally would, and so on and so forth. And then you're just trying to do what you can to really increase the amount of coins in which you own. So let's start talking about first positioning, how many coins you would need. So it's important to note that the minimum bet is this. And if you're selling every 1%, that means you would need at least, if you sold 1% of what you had, then your value would sort of be around the same every time you made a transaction on a sale, because your portfolio would go up 1% if the market went up 1, and then if you sold 1%, it would be back to where it would be again. So right off the bat, you would need at least 100 times from what you would start off with. So we could already state you need 0.1 Bitcoin value. But now you want to make sure that when this goes way higher, that you have some back. So you need much greater than this. So maybe 0.15, 0.2. And then if you're already going to be playing with bigger stakes, 1 Bitcoin, 2 Bitcoin, 3 Bitcoin, then it really, this doesn't become much of an issue, as you probably will never even be trading amongst the minimum bet. It will always be higher than such. Okay, so let's just assume that you have one of these higher numbers. This is what you would be playing it for. So you buy it at, say, 2,000, and then you could start selling it immediately. Like I state, you put an order in for 2020 for the value of 0.001 and maybe a little bit more. It would work out to be well less than 1%, maybe 1/2 or 1/200th of your stack, or 1/80th. So if you have, say, 180 coins or 1,800, then you would have like 10 for sale. And then that number, then your next sell order would be like around 2041. Now what's going to happen is the amount that you sell is going to go down. So if I sold 18 before, let's just say I sold 10 before, well, now I might sell 9.97. I want it to be microscopically worth a bit more each time, as far as how many Bitcoins I would receive. And I want to make sure I sell less each time as well. And then what happens on a sale is I got the buyback. So 2041, let's just assume that's the sale you make. 2041, multiply that, say, by an 8% reduction, so we'll say multiply it by 0.92. I put this buy order in for around 1877. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to paste. Say, for example, say I sell for 0.0010625. I'm going to copy that number, and if the prices are very low in the coin, I want to get back everything that I can. I don't want to make a single Bitcoin profit on this. Meaning that if I sold 10, I'm going to try to get about 8% more, which would work out to about maybe a 10.79 buy order back. And you're only getting microscopic amounts, but you're planning on making several trades throughout this entirety. If you're doing every 1%, you're talking about making how many dozens of trades per week. And other things that you're going to be looking to see happen too is, I said, like on a base, it's at 8% that you'd be looking for. Meaning, when market conditions are normal. If you're not making any trades, sometimes you'll go for 4 or 5% plays maybe. But when markets go straight up and have these big moves, and you get like 14 sell orders hit, or 10, or whatever large amount, I'm no longer looking for an 8% price reduction anymore. I'll start at maybe 10, 12, 15%, but if I had these sell orders hit like this, then I might not want to start buying until here. But you're also going to get lucky too as far as these trades are concerned, because you're going to have something like this happen, and you're going to be sleeping, you're going to be doing other things, you're not going to be at the computer, or you're at least not going to be logged on, and then something like this is going to happen, and this is where you stand when you get back, and you're like, okay, you see, you got all of these sell orders hit, and even though you would have bought this one back here, now you got the opportunity to again buy it here now instead, and thus instead of getting say you sold 10, getting 0.8 back, or now you're going to get, say, well, maybe you'll get like 1.5 back or 2 back more. So you get more, a better of a trade that way. So things like that are going to happen as well. And also, again, if you're watching this happen, and this is again, say 2,500, and this was 2,000, if on another place you're able to say buy, you're able to buy some, say at 2361, say, and you can buy a lot, we'll say, at a different place. Now you're like, oh man, I got like, say, I don't know, say you got 800 of a particular coin or whatever amount. You have 800 total. You can kill all your sell orders if need be, and we put them in later. Sell everything if there's a big enough bid order, and usually there would be, at the 25. And now you're able, because the point differential or price differential would be 149. That's well better than 5%. So you're able to buy like 840 or so, and then transfer what you need of these coins to the other site. And then you're going to have a whole bunch of Bitcoin you're going to have to transfer back to that site, if need be. And there's a gain right there of 40. And then the whole purpose of this is, when you get all of these choppy movements and you finally get your play, then you could come out of this holding a lot more coins. But also, there's going to be another situation where you have the market go way up, like way up, like we've seen last January, December and January, where the markets just had these big moves. You're going to be hoping for better than this, where you're going to get some decent buys in here and stuff like that. But what happens here is you might have owned, say, 5,000 of a particular coin here. Next thing you know, you're way up here, and you only got about, say, 2,000 left, or 1,500 left, 1,000 left even. Especially maybe you have 2,000, you sell an additional 1,000 because you realize this thing is up too high, or whatever. You're going to lose. You're going to have a lot of these sell orders that are not going to have the buybacks. You might have 200 or just a huge amount of buy orders. And then at this point, you can almost reassess the situation. Decide, okay, I'll play maybe small ball, have few coins and play whatever, but I don't want to get aggressively back into buying in here. Then I'll have a strategy to buy on dips lower from all of the sell orders that came in here. You can almost calculate them and determine, okay, and then you can even recalculate them as you wish. Because one way of doing it is, but this is for both the buy and the sells, is you only maybe want to have a few gaps at that percent. So maybe you have a buy order here, and I'm not going to write the numbers in, but let's just assume every single time it's basically 1% lower. But after you go through so many, maybe at some point you make this a 2% move lower. And then maybe a 4% from the additional one. And then 10. And then of course you adjust how much you'd be buying, because you'd technically be missing out on one buy order in here. So you'd almost be increasing the amounts within. And this is again to protect yourself if you have a big move that goes way up or down, that you can get a better deal amongst the situation. So if it goes up like this, selling every 1% might mean you get like 15 sell orders. But of course the risk into doing something is if it goes up and your sell order's up here, and this is where it tops, then there's a good chance if you're playing to sell on on large size increments, maybe your last sell order might have been here. And this is really, and I'm trying to avoid situations like this, so thus you're going to be base currency averaging your way in here. So if you sell every base amount, your average sale is going to be somewhere in the middle in here. All right, then I'm going to end the video now. I hope this has helped out a little bit, and have yourself a great day. Bye bye.